6 of the setup for my Christmas village, and here you see the base for the ice rink that I made back in January or February. I have now wired all the little lanterns all the way around, and this is why I put the hole in the center underneath the ice rink, is so that I could get the wires properly set up for the lanterns. Here you see the base, or the actual battery pack, is inserted right into the base. There's one there, and there's one there. Now, this gave me a little bit of trouble because the hole in the center wasn't large enough for the wires to reach all the way around. And as you see, I have a couple of gaps here, but I'm going to fill those up with benches and with trees and so on. And now I will show you the ice rink going into the center there so that you will not see the wires. And there we have it. That's the ice rink. I'm pretty happy with that. I think it looks awesome. I'm also going to add a, oh darn, I forgot to leave the space for the ice fishing huts. Oh, okay, well, we'll sort that out. There's some ice fishing huts there at the back, and I had them all ready to add to the ice rink. I may have to make another little ice rink for them. Typically, you don't skate around ice fishing huts. So I'll have to see what I do with that the ice fishing huts. After a few adjustments, I made room for the ice fishing hut. Oh, I see the lantern has fallen over. I have to re-glue that. I just add a dab of hot glue to the bottom of these lantern posts so that they stay on the diorama. I'm quite satisfied with that. I think it looks awesome. Okay. Now moving on, yesterday I came across, while I was shopping for some supplies, I came across this cute little Christmas tree. And I decided that the Christmas tree I had in the city square really wasn't what I was looking for. The only problem with this cute little Christmas tree was it came with a couple of the lights were broken off. And when the salesman explained to me that the light bulb is in the center and it just lights up those little globes, I said, well, for a discount, I would buy it. They gave it to me for $12. It's a little ceramic Christmas tree. I'm planning to do a little painting with it, add a little bit of green to it so that it's not quite as white. But then I glued some see-through beads onto the holes that were left with the missing bulbs, and it turned out quite nice. The problem is I have to light it from the bottom, so I have to tip it over, switch it on, and of course, it's something that you can't really tell. It's a very, very cold light. So I'm not completely happy with it, but I have to be satisfied with that. I think in the end, it will give me the look that I want of the city center Christmas tree with some folks sitting around the benches. And when I add little evergreens and deciduous trees, I think it will look nice. I have also added, in the meantime, several more homes, houses, buildings. I have this beautiful little restaurant, but it's very, very snowy, and it looks out of place here. So I'm thinking I have to change that. I have the medieval houses behind it, which really add a nice ambiance. So I'm thinking I'm going to move that restaurant, that snowy restaurant, over to the snowy area, because this is more a cityscape area. With a little bit of country there, and I have a row of homes there, houses and buildings there. But over here on this side, I have some white area. The only thing is, I have to remember where the train track is going to go. And I'm thinking, before I go any farther, before I even change the restaurant over, I'm going to put the train track bed at least back in, so that I don't lose track of where the train track goes, so that I don't start building things on top of the train track. All these are little issues that you deal with while you're building. But so far, things are starting to look up. I also want to add a little bit of snow to my castle, because my castle looks very snowless, and everything else has got snow on the roofs and on the evergreens and so on. I'm also going to reinforce my waterfall. I managed to source another bottle of Realistic water by Woodland Scenics. So I'm going to reinforce that because it's looking a little thin and bedraggled. and add to that. So these are all things that I'm going to be doing today and tomorrow. So stay tuned. I also wanted to show you the rest of my house. The village is starting to look pretty wonderful, but I still have a lot of stuff sitting around everywhere, and I feel so disorganized and discombobulated, but at least things are starting to look up. I'll get all this mess cleaned up soon. In the next segment, I'm going to show you how I install lanterns. I confess that doing the lanterns are the bane of my existence. I simply abhor doing these. They are fragile, they are difficult to plant because they don't want to stay where they're put, and the wires are a real pain to get rid of. But in any case, when it's all said and done, the lanterns look pretty terrific. They really add a lovely touch to the village. Therefore, I never have a village without lanterns. I always put the lanterns in. And in this segment, I will show you as I glue the bottom of the lanterns and I put them where I want to have them, and I worry about the wires afterwards. Here you will see me fitting the wires around the houses. Some of these wires are a little bit short and they're hard to get around the houses. Short of taking the houses right off, or the porcelain buildings, taking them right off, unhooking them from their lights and taking them right off. I just try to feed the wire around the porcelain house and then later tack them down. These are the little U-tacks that I use. I've got them off of Amazon. They're like staples, but a little heavier duty. And you just press them into the styrofoam. They anchor everything really quite well. I used a lot of these in the wires that I tacked down in other areas of the diorama as well. Every year I have to resupply myself because I use them and I lose them. They're very easy to lose. But they're a very handy little item to have on hand when you're anchoring all the wires. You can see the wires between the houses, quite visible. They are tacked down, but you need to remember that between those houses there will be trees and there will be benches and people, and in the end you will not be able to see them at all. They'll be invisible. I added some dabs of green to the Christmas tree to make it less stark. Think it looks better? I'm not sure. And you will see me continuing to install the lanterns on the diorama. And as you can see, it gets a little more difficult as time goes on, only because there's so much on the diorama already, and I'm trying to plug in the lanterns into the electrical outlets at the back and feed the lanterns in through the diorama so that the wires are invisible. So it's a bit of a challenge, but I just continue to work on this a little bit every day, and every day we get a little bit farther, and once the lanterns are all installed, then we're going to see everything go full speed ahead. Here I'm reattaching the little wreath that fell off of one of the lanterns. These things are so tiny and it's so difficult to make sure that everything stays in the right place. By the time you've got it glued back on and you move it like that, sometimes the wreath falls off again. This time it worked. It's still on there and I'm hoping that it'll stay on there. Then of course, once you have the lantern in place, then the wall falls over. So it's time to reglue the wall. One thing leads to another, and that's how you just plod onwards and upwards each time again. Here you can see a close-up of the wires that the lanterns use. There was no way I had of hiding them on the mountain. I did want to put some lanterns on the mountain, but I had to figure out a way to hide them. So this is what I did.